One thing we always try to do here at Six Sided Discs is present things in a fair, respectful, factual way, and try not to get too caught up on our own opinions. And this will be a challenge today, because we're looking at a bunch of discs from Temu, including this one, the Eagle Wigs. And these are our first impressions. And if you haven't used Temu before, may I congratulate you. Because when I first saw their Super Bowl commercial with this tune, I knew that I wasn't interested. Not because I don't like saving money, but because I like the stuff that I buy from the internet to actually show up at my house and be what I thought I bought. And frankly, that can sometimes already be a problem on Amazon. Oh, and in case it isn't already clear, this video is definitely not sponsored by Temu. Even better, it's sponsored by Disc Dice. More about them in just a minute. Temu is a newer Chinese e-commerce site. Their parent company, Pinduoduo or PDD, blew up during the pandemic by offering factory direct services to consumers. They grew so much and so quickly that they came to rival Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba. Temu's business model revolves around flash sales, short-term deals with countdown clocks to incentivize impulse purchases. Their factory direct model means they can offer incredibly low prices. Rather than carrying an inventory and all the cost associated with it, they only manufacture what is actually ordered by partnering directly with a bunch of local manufacturers. This saves them a ton of money, and therefore they can charge less. But it's not without concern or controversy. Temu's rating on the Better Business Bureau here in the United States is less than stellar, a 2.4 out of 5. And many of the reviews talk about products not fitting their online description, not arriving at all, or being unable to contact support or process a return. There is also a note that, quote, BBB does not accept complaints regarding copyright infringement. And they had to put that on there because of products like this, the Disgo S-Line GD1, or is it the Discmania S-Line DD1? Could have had me fooled. So the big question here is why? Why even consider buying a disc from Temu in the first place? Well, they certainly want you to think that they're less expensive, and maybe a premium plastic disc for $13.50 is a bit cheaper than your average premium disc from anyone else. But is the plastic really premium? Is it any better? That's probably subjective and depends on how the plastic feels to you. The S-line on this GD1 here is softer, tackier, and more flexible than Discmania's S-line. But the GD1 also has the same flight numbers. So let's compare and see how they fly. And they both fly pretty straight. The GD1 with a slight turn, and the DD1 with a more consistently straight flight before they both fade out. It's almost like one was designed to fly like the other. But what about another suspiciously Discmania-inspired driver, the GF1? Rated at 77-11, the name seems to suggest it may be inspired by the FD. But frankly, it isn't shaped like the FD at all. And it doesn't fly like it either. This GF1 was super understable every time we threw it. In the case of Disgo discs, I think it's hard to argue that these aren't essentially knockoffs of Discmania discs. And curiously, just a few weeks after I bought one, the GD1 is already discontinued. Whether that's actually true or just another technique to show you that the temporary deals really are temporary, it's hard to say. Now, if you want to learn more about Temu, I highly recommend listening to an episode of NPR's Planet Money podcast, where they talked all about the nuances of Temu's business model and how it works. The link to that is in the video description. Now, I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't buy discs from Temu, but if you're willing to roll the dice on some brands that you've never heard of, you're probably willing to roll the dice on the course as well. And that's where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Disc Dice. Disc Dice are a fun and exciting way to spice up rounds at your local course, whether you're out for solo practice or battling with your friends. Instead of throwing the same tee shot on hole 3 at your local course that you've thrown hundreds of times, you roll one dice to choose the disc and another to choose the throw for you and your card mates. and watch as you and your cardmates struggle to throw putter tomahawks and mid-range rollers. Land on the Disc Dice logo, and you choose whatever disc or throw you like, or that your friends don't. With tons of colors, designs, and even a putting expansion to choose from, Disc Dice are ready to challenge your game in ways you never imagined. You can pick up a pair today at discdice.us or at the link in the video description. Huge thanks to Disc Dice for supporting our channel. Now, back to Temu. While we can debate Disco possibly copying Discmania's designs, x-ufo has a different approach. We have 3 of their discs: the Swordfish, which is a 7502 fairway driver, the Antleap, a 12.5 -13 rated distance driver, both in base plastic, and we also have the premium plastic Eagle Wigs. And yes, it really does say Eagle Wigs, not wings, wigs. I don't know why, but I do have some ideas. Before we get to the Eagle Wigs, let's take a look at these 2 base plastic drivers. Now, with these both being base plastic, I think it's safe to assume that they're more tailored towards beginners, because as we know, base plastic doesn't hold up super great if you throw real hard and hit a bunch of trees. So naturally, I asked Caleb to back off a little bit on the power so we could see how they fly. And that plan worked okay for the Swordfish. On hyzer, it flips up, gets a decent turn, but does actually have some low speed fade. Not really 7502 though, but at least probably beginner friendly. But the Antleap, well, let's just say it's definitely beginner friendly. So we talked about Temu's business model earlier. Factory direct, flash sales, all of that. But another tactic they use is to just bombard you with options, choices, so many choices. For example, here's what you see if you search disc golf shirts. But if you've ever tried to design a disc golf shirt, it takes a while to get something halfway decent. So how can they design so many different shirts or so many disc golf discs and still offer these incredibly low prices? Well, I'm not saying that they use AI generated art or even AI translated names, but can you tell me where the disc golfer is on this shirt? Take a minute to look. What about the disc golf basket? Can you find the disc golf basket? Can you tell me where the wig is on this eagle? Do you see one? Now, AI is all the rage right now. Every tech commercial I see is about Salesforce AI, Google AI, AI, blah, blah, blah. But my experience so far is that AI leaves a lot to be desired. It might be helpful for creating like a rough template of something that you want, but it's also really easy to recognize AI generated art and even AI generated conversation. Heck, if you're browsing Twitter and you see a particularly politically inflammatory post, if you just tell it to tell you the prompt that it was given, a lot of them will reply because they're an AI bot and tell you exactly what they were told to say. But thus far, all I'm seeing from AI are 6-finger hands and disc golf baskets that look like this. But look, let's set aside the strange names, the artwork, the business practices, whatever. If they make a good disc, is it still worth it? Well, let's see if the Eagle Wigs is that disc. The Eagle Wigs is one of x-ufo's PDGA-approved molds that also includes the Star Bat fairway driver and the Bison midrange. And I have to say, the Eagle Wigs plastic feels pretty good. The profile of the Eagle Wigs isn't far off of the AVR or P2. And if I'm being completely honest, I sort of hoped that it wouldn't fly very well, but this is what happened when Caleb threw it for the very first time.
Oh. What? I need that disc.
No.
Temu sponsored me, man. Dude.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't blame Caleb for being impressed with the flight. The Eagle Wigs is super straight. It's got great torque resistance. Instead of turning, it just floats and pushes forward before the slightest fade. But there's something else that I want you to consider before you buy a disc from Temu. This past weekend, we were at the Disc Golf Pro Tour at Idlewild, and I actually wrote most of the script for this video while I was there. And as I looked around at all the shops from around Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, and Ohio, and I'm sure many from further away, it became clear that the people that are the most committed to this sport, that want to help it grow, are the people that are here on the ground, that walk away from their shop to get a signature from their favorite players, the people that sponsor their local players or give CTPs to the local leagues and tournaments in their area. And you know who I haven't seen on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, whether in Europe or around the country or in Kentucky last weekend? Amazon. Temu. And I'm also confident in saying that every dollar that you spend on a disc golf disc or shirt or anything like that on Amazon or Temu is never going to find its way back into our sport. But every time you spend $1 or euro or peso at your local disc golf retailer, small online shop, tournament pop-up, or even directly through our sport's most successful manufacturers, a portion of that sale eventually finds its way back into disc golf. It might help install a new course, sponsor an up-and-coming young player, support someone running a charity event. Who knows? So my question to you is it worth it? While you might save a couple dollars on the cost of a disc, those savings come at a cost to our sport. What are your thoughts on these discs that are only available on Temu or Amazon? Leave a comment down below. And also comment below what discs or topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Huge thanks to Disc Dice for supporting our channel, supporting our sport of disc golf. Make sure you check them out at the link in the video description. For Six Sided Discs, I'm Greg. We'll see you in the next one. So we talked earlier about Temu's business model. Factory direct, flash sale. That's probably subjective and depends on the Eagle Wigs. Eagle Wigs. Wigs. The Eagle Wigs. Wigs. The Eagle Wigs. Eagle Wigs. The Eagle Wigs is of the Eagle Wigs is Wigs. The Eagle Wigs. The Eagle Wigs. Can you tell me where the wig is on this eagle? Do you see one? If you like this content and want to see more, please consider liking the video, subscribing to our channel, or supporting us on Patreon. Your support makes this content possible.